The recent pandemic isolated a lot of people from one another. There was some weeks when many people, if not pretty much everybody, were under a quarantine of some sort. We were discouraged or even prevented from getting together. And we began to rely on technology as a way of connecting with one another, which really was a saving grace for anybody who had access to technology. Of course, we have to remember that not everybody around the entire world does, but many people do. And therefore, things like using video conferencing for calling family or friends or for conducting business really was a great alternative for us to connect with one another during a time when we were either under a quarantine or strongly discouraged to get together because of the recent pandemic. But the reality of being a human is that we are social beings. And as social beings, we need to get together. We need to come together in relationships, have family units and friendships and groups of people who have things in common or common interests, common beliefs, whatever the case may be. And while being able to use technology was a good alternative for us during a time when in-person interaction was not possible or nearly impossible, it is time for us to return to having in-person connections and meetings and gatherings. And for those of you who may be nervous because of all of the recent happenings, and it was quite serious when we had the pandemic, you can always take precautions when you get together with people. But the point that I'm making today is that as humans, as social beings, we rely on physical contact, physical touch, and physical proximity to one another. So even if we do not touch each other while we're in the same space, it's still beneficial for us to be in the same space. It helps us with our health, our immune system, with dealing with stress and stressful situations. So if we continue to avoid one another in person, that only contributes to the negative effects of separation from one another, which is why I bring up the idea of it's time to make sure we rely less on technology to connect with one another and more on meeting each other in person like we used to before the pandemic. And again, if you are nervous about being in proximity with other people, take precautions. Avoid touch, but you can still be in the same space. Wear a mask if it makes you feel better. Do whatever you need to do, but make an effort to get together with people in person. If you don't want to do that indoors, you can do that outside if it makes you feel better, if you're still nervous about it. But isolating ourselves from one another is not a good thing, especially long term. It does affect our well-being, our physical health, our emotional and mental health, and it even affects our immune system. So we really need to strive to make those connections with one another. Like I said at the beginning of the video, we are social beings. We really need to be with one another because it benefits all of us when we have in-person interactions, positive interactions with one another. And notice that I said positive interactions. Don't get together with people to argue and fight with them. Get together with people that you enjoy, whose company you enjoy, people that will enhance the experience rather than people that will deteriorate your experience or make it negative in any way. But it's, again, so important that we take advantage of being able to get back with each other, meet up with each other in person. Again, while the technology was great, it's not something that we should just use from now on, forgetting to meet each other in person. We absolutely benefit from getting together in person, from just getting together to talk, to have a cup of coffee, to share a meal, to working together. This is as important in our personal lives as it is in our work lives, our professional lives. So as these videos that I make for you all focus on the best ways of dealing with stress and managing stress in the most effective ways, this is one of those ways where you keep yourself healthy, physically, emotionally, psychologically, by keeping in touch with other people, by not isolating. The most critical time of the pandemic has passed. We are now out and about. We are getting together. So make sure you don't get caught up in the old loop of when the pandemic was in its height, where it was not safe to get together. Make sure that you are making an effort to be with other people. And again, if you're feeling nervous for any reason, then take the precautions that will make you feel okay to get together with others. But make an effort to be social, whether it's in your personal life or at work, so that you continue to experience those human connections, whether it's one-on-one or in a group setting, but in person rather than through a screen. That's the important part. So today I encourage you to make sure that you look at your own interactions with people. Are you back to where you were before the pandemic? Or at least, are you experiencing other people in person more now than you were during the pandemic? Maybe you're not back yet to the pre-pandemic way of doing things, and that's okay. Everybody has their own pace, but make sure you don't get stuck where you rely on technology all the time and never see people in person, because that would be a shame. That would not really be strengthening you as a person who can manage stress in the best way possible. Remember, I always tell you, it's about having as many tools in your proverbial toolbox as possible. And this is just one more of those tools, making sure that you connect with other people in person. And while I focus on people in this episode, remember to focus with or connect with animals as well. If you're an animal lover, go to the park, visit with friends and their pets, take your pet out, go to the zoo, whatever the case may be. So while the main focus of this video was humans, don't forget your animal friends. Make sure to connect with them too. We are social beings, and while we focus on other humans when we talk about that, it could also mean our animal friends. But let me caution this: don't discount all the humans for animals and animal friends only. Remember, it's still important to connect with other people. So I hope that you take some advice in terms of how you can continue to build that stress management toolbox so that you can manage the stress in your life in the most effective and successful way. If you'd like to learn more about a comprehensive approach to stress management, check out the link below.